is myself, Eddie, John, Michelle, Terry, and Kate. All right,
I don't see anything on my end, Eddie.
Same.
all right.
Hi, Kate. Hi, Michelle.
How you doing, Mr. Walston?
Hi, Kate. Hi,
alright.
Michelle.
Happy
Hi,
Wednesday.
Terry.
Hi, John.
Happy
Hi,
Wednesday.
Kevin.
All right. On the agenda, we'd like to reconcile the finances for January 2023. John, it's all yours, sir. If you'd like, take it away. Or Kevin, would you like to make an opening statement?
I'll do the same thing you just did, Mr. Russo, and say, John, take it away.
Yeah. Well, Ed will give you the details from the line items and things like that. I would say it's the same, pretty much the same story as a month ago. Things have been pretty steady as we've gone through the winter. So, Ed, why don't you take us through the line items?
No, I know. I mean,
Yep.
Yeah.
We lose Ed? Oh, there you are.
Yeah, I don't.
Can you hear me, Ed?
Let me look at it.
Ed, can you hear us okay? Sounds like you're muted.
We can't hear you, yeah.
You're on twice.
You're not coming through, Eddie.
No,
Hi, Julie.
Hello, everybody.
Ed, you're showing up twice.
Who, me?
Can you see
Eddie
me
is.
now?
Now it's good. This is good.
Now you can hear me? Okay. Do you see my share screen? I shared the agenda with all the backup information. You guys see that?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry, technology, right? I have two screens open, looks like. So we're speaking about January 31st, our financials for January. As you can see, with the school year halfway, 89% of our budget has been spent or unencumbered in this point, or encumbered in our line items. We continue to see unfilled vacancy positions, which as we get through the report, you'll see there's a possible surplus in there because of these unfilled vacancy positions. We are continue recruiting as we're hearing across the nation. It continues to be tough. We're praying for the best as the year comes to an end. The next line is we brought up last month about requesting to the board about a budget transfer of $2 million of unspent funds to cover student computers and replacing some of the printing copiers equipment here in the district. So that's something that we plan on bringing to the board this coming probably for next month. And then we're keeping a close eye on our energy expenses. As we all know, it's, I think on Sunday we had 60 something degrees, and then, the day after it was like in the 20s. So we're seeing some savings in there possibly. Hopefully that continues. So I'll jump into the backup of all the information in regards to the line items. First page is really, we're working with a budget currently of 141 million. As mentioned before, what's expended, what's encumbered, and then that $14 million is really what's unencumbered. A lot of it is health insurance, and also, as I mentioned earlier, unfilled vacancy positions. Just like any other month, here's our summary report of our general funds, from our salaries to benefits to professional service, down to our supplies and our total amount, what's remaining, and the same thing for the grants. And as I mentioned before, the 14 million is really what's unencumbered at this point. A lot of it is, as I mentioned just a few minutes ago, is health insurance and really the unfilled vacancies. And as we go through, just like any other month, it's just our reports. You'll see some in the positive, some in the negative. That's normal, just very similar to a year ago at this point. As long as the bottom line comes to a positive number or in the plus. So as I scroll through, and then our grants, same thing. You'll see some areas where there may not be a budget amount. That's because some of these grants we receive funding after, whether it's from the state or local funding. From, for example, educational services, that budget goes in throughout the year, or Medicaid, where the funding refunds come in, reimbursement come in after. So there's your total in regards to what grants are. That total amount includes ESSER. That's majority of it is our ESSER funds for ESSER 3, which we still have a year and a half left of it, and ESSER 2, which expires as of this June 30th of this year. Are there any questions? Teresa? Or Al, I think you're on mute.
The 2 million I thought was going to go to the new reading program.
The reading program, that was part of the ESSER funding from ESSER 2. That's something that we have submitted to the state. Correct me if I'm wrong, John. We had to submit to the state a new a revised application explaining this is what we wanted to do, and that has been done. Is that correct, John?
Well, we've calculated everything, gotten everything ready. I want Casimiro to look at it one more time before it goes up to the state, but yeah, in a matter of days. And Ed's correct, it would be the ESSER 2 funding source.
I thought everything was going to be rolled into that ESSER fund.
John and Eddie, when the two of you were talking, you guys have to, both of you guys can be on at the same time. We're getting the feedback from both of you because your offices are so close. So Teresa, I think the 2 million that we are anticipating we will have fully before this year ends is because of the unfilled positions. And as part of our strategy for the 23-24 school year, we're looking to buy down on some of those items that we need for next year. So that's the $2 million strategy. The reading program that you're referring to is the ESSER 2 monies that we also have extra from because we don't have many of the things that we committed to, whether that's staffing or whether those are strategies like the Brookfield site. We want to use that money to buy down on the reading program. So we're, as part of our adjustment with the state, we've looking to include that in the adjustment, and assuming that is approved, we will have a way to pay for the reading program without using our general fund monies.
So the replacement will be of the computers and copiers, phase 1, so to speak.
Yes, for the computers, yes, just for this year to get us through. John can speak, a little bit more in detail just in terms of the copier lease package and then also the computers. But for year 1, I think we estimated $1 million cost for next year.
All right. John.
John, you're on mute.
So we'd like to put both of these things on 5 to 7 year replacement cycles. One of the advantages and disadvantages of the pandemic is we're now what we'll call a one-to-one district, or one Chromebook for every student, but they don't last forever. They're great. It's not the kind of thing you want to go backwards on, but you need to replace so many each year. So that will be a continuing plan. And same with copiers, which are really our printers, is what we use. We print from our computers, and We haven't replaced any in a long time. We think it's a bigger need we're looking at than if we had done a few every year we'd have. So we want to avoid spikes in any one year where we have to replace a lot of them and
I
do that
agree
on a
with-
smoother basis. Yeah.
I agree with you 100%. I just want to know where we are on your schedule.
Yeah. So this would be the beginning. This would be
Thank
the
you.
first year for both.
Thank you.
John, the unencumbered amount of 14,782,000 is my understanding. It's a lot of it is unfilled employment vacancies and benefits. Is some of that money, benefits money, actually at risk to be spent during the rest of the school year? Or are those benefit monies noted in the 14,782,000 in anticipation if you will fill all the vacancies? So is that money's totally unencumbered if we don't fill the vacancies?
No, because what we do is, we're self-insured, meaning whatever, and we do it through Cigna. Cigna's, if you went to the doctor, you'd fill out a Cigna form and they'd be the one writing the check. But when you're self-insured, instead of just paying a premium per month to, in this case, Cigna, we pay the actual claims that come in that are incurred. And we'll get a bill from them each week. And so I think, Eddie, last week was over $500,000. And
Correct.
if you could mute for a
530.
second, Ed. And then, so if there are, I don't know, 18 weeks left at 500,000, there could be, 9 million in expenses that would come out of that line.
Correct. So
Remember,
some
it's
of that is at, yeah, my point.
Yeah.
Answered then.
Mhm.
So it is at risk if additional insurance claims come through between now and the end of the year, which.
Yeah,
are
and we
expected.
expect, we meet with our consultant Gallagher every month, and they give us an actuarial's, if I'm saying that right, opinion of how claims are going and where we think they're going to end up. So we're getting advised in a real-time basis. So if something were to change dramatically for the worse, we certainly would have that information to bring back to you and tell you what's going on and why.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Eddie, John, any further?
Mr. Russo, could I ask a question, please?
Hey, I'm sorry, I can't see you. But
That's
yeah,
okay. I'm not on
by all
screen
means, man.
today. I'm not on screen today, so I just used my raise hand here. I just, and I know you guys are not the HR team here, so forgive me if I'm asking a question that really doesn't fall under your purview. But when we talk about these positions that are going unfilled, can you give us any kind of breakdown as to what we're looking at? Because I'm looking at obviously the salaries line, and that's sort of how I'm trying to get a sense of what's outstanding. In these details below, like you could see that we're running, a credit on an unencumbered balance of 173,000 for assistant superintendents. But we're also running, like, for regular teachers, 1.8 million. So
Right. And the other one is the guidance, the counselors, which is up above that. So it's likely that, much of those monies will remain at the end of the year. We do have higher substitute costs because those positions aren't filled, and of course we need to teach the classes. I think we talked to you during the budget process about what we call overloads, where a teacher who might have a 6-period day will enlist them for a 7-period day, and they'll take on a higher load, but you have to pay something for that. So there's a cost that goes with having those two lines unused. But you're right, those are the lines to look at. That's where the money's going to come from.
okay. And I guess what I'm trying to figure out is, like, in assessing those numbers, and thank you for pointing out the counseling line, because that is
Yeah.
obviously very substantial as well. And we've had a lot of conversations about the mental health piece and whether or not we're providing enough services to our students. What I'm trying to get a sense of is like, how many positions are we talking about, for example, for that counseling line?
Well, I don't think we're down as many counselors. We're not really down counselors. Ed, if you could mute for a minute. One of the things we did during the budget cut last June was move some positions over into ESSER. And some of those were support positions, like the counselors. So Kevin could talk to this, but I think most of our counselor positions are filled. There might be a leave or something going on, but we'd like more. And I think we've asked for some
Yeah.
more next year, but most of the vacancies are in other areas.
Thanks, John.
And Kate, the vast majority of our vacancies are in the paraprofessional group, where I think we have upward of 35 to 40 plus paras who sitting in, we have vacant, in those positions remain vacant. I can only think of one guidance counselor position that we're down right now. Offhand, I can't speak to the other people, personnel, staff members, the positions that were down. I do know that we're vacant special ed teachers. I don't have an exact number for this conversation, but we can get a little bit more clarity around the positions that are open.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Wilson. And I guess a quick follow-up to that, if I may, Mr. Russo.
Sure, ma'am. Yes, please.
I guess my follow-up question to that is, we have talked about the increased needs for mental health care and for paraprofessionals, given that we're seeing an increased need from our student population. So is this a case where, we've built our budget around the dollars that have been allotted, and so we only allot certain number of positions based on those dollars that we know we're going to be operating with? Versus being able to, at some point, decide, okay, well, we know we have this additional need. And I understand, like, I'm looking at it from a perspective, it's probably pretty hard to pivot mid-year and say, okay, we have this money that we didn't expect to have, and try to find somebody midway through the year. But I just want to make sure I understand correctly sort of the mechanics here, that we set the budget at the beginning of the year based on what we have received from the city and from the state, and then the number of positions that we allot is based on, those dollars. So we kind of move forward from there and base our open positions, around what that is versus, say, the specific need that we have in the population.
Wow.
Right. So, Kate, if I